Hello and welcome for this presentation of Coming Next From Québec for Series Mania 2021, a special edition made in collaboration with SODEC, Quebec Cultural Agency, a prime opportunity to showcase the quality and potential of the latest production from Quebec. But first, let's have a word with Louise Lantagne, CEO and President of SODEC. Louise?
Thank you, François-Pierre. SODEC is a Quebec government corporation. It has a mandate to promote and financially support its cultural enterprises within Quebec and abroad to raise the profile and influence of Quebec culture, its notoriety, and its exportability. To this end, SODEC supports production companies with the execution of their export plans, notably by developing strong and lasting links with international markets. For a third year, SODEC is partnering with Mania, a major event dedicated to international television series. Again, this year, we are presenting Coming Next From Québec, where you get a sneak preview of 6 original series that will give you an excellent taste of Québec créatif. Before I turn the floor over to our Master of Ceremonies, François-Pierre, I want to wish you, my colleagues, a happy and rewarding Coming Next From Quebec. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. Now let's meet Christine Maestracci and Mia Desroches. They do represent the best in fiction Quebec has to offer, and you will discover with them their hottest new properties. Now let's talk to Mia. Mia Desroches, you are Director, Content Distribution Partnership CBC Radio-Canada, the trusted and very popular television group in Quebec. Mia, the screen is yours.
Thank you, François-Pierre. First of all, I would like to thank the SODEC and Mania for the opportunity to participate in the 2021 Coming Next From Quebec. Obviously, I'm really honored and excited to be here today, along with some of our best Quebec independent producers, to introduce our brand new releases. So let's start by saying a few words about who we are. Radio-Canada is Canada's public broadcaster, and we are ranked first in the market for 3 years running in primetime. Last year, we toppled our record with a 25.6% market share. Our programming is bold and engaging, and drama is right at the center of our success. And then we're also a distributor. International sales and financing are at the core of our strategic plan, and we have different business models that allow us to be flexible depending on our business partners, the producers, and also on the needs of the production. And now, without further ado, let's take a look at our 2021 season. Thank you for watching. So this was Radio-Canada in a nutshell. Now I will introduce you to our first new releases, A Family Affair, produced by Also and directed by Sophie Lorrain. A Family Affair is a 6-hour bittersweet drama series based on Nadine Bismuth's remarkable book of the same title. I only had the chance to preview the first episode as we are in post-production at the moment, but already the tone is set, and I'm convinced that audiences who like very contemporary stories will love this series. But before we discuss further, let's take a look at an excerpt. Hey, bravo!
Tu charmes les femmes libres en ville. Tu te prends en vent, chérie, t'as plus 20 ans, et moi j'en ris. Mais c'est triste. Tu rentres le soir, il fait presque plus noir, et tu crois que je dors, mais je croise ton regard. Allongés ensemble, on s'en fout, on s'entend même plus à 1%, c'est la vie. J'ai jamais bien choisi ni mes amours, ni mes amis. On s'approche de l'abîme. Et tu rentres le soir, il fait presque plus noir. Et tu crois que je dors, mais je croise ton regard. Allongés ensemble, on s'en fout, on s'entend même plus à 1%, c'est la vie. J'ai jamais bien choisi ni mes amours, ni mes amis. Oh, la lumière, merde.
Hello, Sophie Lorrain, and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So we're here today to discuss about your new series, Family Affair. First of all, I'm curious to know what seduced you so much in Nadine Bismuth's book that made you want to make this book into a TV series?
Well, I've always been seduced by Nadine's writing in the first, to start with, because I've always been a fan of hers. But when I started reading The Family Affair, it was obvious earlier on in my reading that these characters could come off the page and on a television screen. I mean, and the storytelling was very good. So, all the ingredients were there to make the recipe.
And did you work closely with Nadine Bismuth throughout the writing and the adaptation process?
Yes, actually, I did. My partner and I at Also, Alexis Durand-Brou and I, are showrunners to start with. So we kind of get, very close to our writers' work, and we like to work with them along the way of all the process of writing the television series. However, in this case, of course, it's not like if Nadine started from scratch. There's already a novel existing, so there's a kind of a template that she was able to use in order to work on her series. Also, she's a screenwriter to start with, so she knows all the codes and how to do it. So it wasn't very difficult, really.
And can you tell us just a little bit more about the storyline?
Well, although it's complicated, it's not that complicated. It's about Magali, who's a kitchen designer, who lives with Matthew. He's a young lawyer in a big law firm, and they have this 5-year-old kid who's called Charlotte. Now, Matthew is cheating on Magali, and she's clinging on to the relationship because she doesn't want her kid to be devastated by a separation. And one day, her own mother, who is a young widow, gets to meet a man through internet. And this man has a son who is the same age as Magali. And one day they'll meet each other, and he will fall in love with her head over heels, and that's when trouble starts.
So I had the chance to watch the first episode, Sophie. Only the first, because you're right into post-production at the moment. So, and my feeling, based on what I saw and what you just explained to us, is that the series is really is going to be some kind of a social criticism, and it's a dive into what it means to be a modern family these days, being a young adult, being a parent that has also professional ambitions. So I'm just curious to know, in your opinion, what is the audiences is going to get or discover as they're binging the series?
Well, it is a bit of all of what you just said. It is a social criticism on modern love, but also on relationships, whether they are with the family, friendships, or even co-workers' relationships. But it's, yes, it has its toll at the end because, in my generation, we were told that we could have it all, a marriage, kids, a career, success, money. Her generation has been told the same thing, but, there are more layers that have been added on, you have to have a beautiful environment, so you have to renovate your kitchen every 5 years. You also have to live all of this, gluten-free, dairy-free, dairy-free, and sugar-free, and perfect diet. And on top of that, you have to deal with social networks, and whether that's on your personal life or at work. So it does add up, and it stresses you out, whether you're conscious about it or not, And it has its toll at the end of the day, and it's a reflection on all of that. Now, there's this character who says to Magali, and I think it sums it all up. He says, you know why, couple who are having problems are still sticking together, even though their relationship is falling apart? It's because people would rather live with unhappiness than with uncertainty. And that's what this series is all about, really.
Well, thank you so much, Sophie, for being here with us, and I'm looking forward in collaborating with you and also to bringing this fantastic series to the international market.
Thanks for having me.
After is a 6-hour limited series featuring the delightful actress Karine Vanasse, who is one of our most well-known actresses outside of Quebec. We know her, among for other things, for her role in Revenge and also in Cardinal. After explores the aftermath of a very tragic event in a small rural town far from Montreal. The title was really well picked as the story begins within the seconds after a fatal event, and it depicts the physical, psychological, and also social consequences of a tragedy that is unfortunately becoming too common these days. Even if the story is triggered by a very tragic event, I think it's important to mention that the series is also full of hope and light. But before we get into more details, let's watch the trailer.
En route 14. Une fusillade à l'épicerie. Quoi?
Comment on fait après 1 an pour continuer?
On prend ça une journée à la fois.
Je vois.
Non, vous voyez pas.
Aujourd'hui, c'est le premier jour de convalescence dans votre village. Ça se voit pas facilement, mais ça va se faire.
C'est quoi vous cherchez?
On cherche juste à comprendre, madame.
C'est vous autres qui avez tué mon Jérôme en faisant rien.
Un peu de compassion, s'il vous plaît.
On vous, réponds-moi. Comment ça se fait qu'on n'a rien vu?
C'est pas en faisant semblant que c'est pas arrivé que ça va faire en sorte que ce soit pas arrivé.
Là, c'est tout le village que tu vas tuer.
T'as besoin de ce que tu dis, là, toi?
Il faut qu'on se tienne.
Focus sur ce que t'as, pas sur ce que t'as perdu.
Vous étiez où quand j'avais besoin d'aide?
Le courage appelle le courage. Ça va en prendre du courage pour ne pas haïr. Ça va en prendre du courage pour continuer à aimer.
So, hello, Hugo from Productrions. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today. You're here to talk about your series After. The series depicts a very tragic event. That's how it all starts. But at the same time, there's a lot of human courage and strength also in the series. Can you tell us just a little bit more about what's this balance between the dark and the light?
I would say that from that standpoint, the series that we have is completely unbalanced. It's very unbalanced and nicely unbalanced because it shifts very quickly from the tragedy itself to the consequences on the community of that tragedy. So the focus is really on resilience, courage, and hope, and it's not really on the dark side of the tragedy itself and the intricacies. Actually, most of the characters will heal and will get over that tragedy. And the real focus is more on how these victims at the beginning, they become survivors at the end of the series.
And now tell me a little bit about the setup, because the whole story is happening in a rural, small village. It's very far from the big city. And I'm just curious to know why you picked this environment and how it's enriching the story.
Yeah, so we chose to set up the action in the northern village in the countryside of Quebec. And the decision was made in order to see the impact of the tragedy on the victims, but through a magnifying glass. It allows us to jump really quickly into the intimacy of the villagers who know each other. And we're not in a situation where the grief is faceless. These are real people struggling with the consequences of a tragedy, and we see it in a very close-up effect. So this was the idea behind the choice of getting into a really small village, and it also it brings a lot of connection with the audience and the characters living the tragedy.
And I completely agree with you, Hugo. I had the chance to watch the series, obviously. It's already on our SVOD, 2.tv. It's extremely successful already, and I completely agree with from that standpoint. Tell us a little bit more about the cast. How was it to work with Karine Vanasse and the others? There's Madeleine Béloquin, there's David Boutet, and also filmmaker Louis Choquette. How was that?
We were very fortunate to have that incredible cast. They were dedicated actors that made their role into very hard conditions. We were filming a lot at night, outside at -30 in the cold, snowy winter of Canada. So it was a hard work that they had to put in. And well, first of all, I think what's important is the connection between Louis Choquette and Karine Vanasse that was born 20 years ago in Karine's first major role. So this connection allowed us to go deeper into Karine's character and into the relationship she has with her daughter. And so it felt like natural and easy to get into the intimacy of the motherhood, and also the connection allowed us to completely develop the role as a leader from Karine's character in the series. So and the key role she had also in the reconstruction of the community. And what about Madeleine and David? They are experienced actors that allowed us to go into really what it is as the notion of community grief. So they added a lot of nuances to how it's not only a personal grief, but also a community grief from their perspective. So they are great. They are great.
So last, I'm just curious to know, in the story, Karine Vanasse's child has Down syndrome. And so I'm curious to know, in terms of creative decision, why and how is this adding to the diversity of the cast, and also what's it's adding to the storyline itself?
Yeah, well, the character of Danae adds a lot of humanity to the series. It was a way for us to explore some forgotten angles of these situations where people living with frailties or mental conditions are often forgotten in those situations. Also, Danae provides a unique vision of the situation, and she asks fundamental questions such as what's the meaning of violence, the meaning of life, the meaning of death. It's simple question bringing complex answers. And Danae is an example of the uniqueness of Après, which is basically a story of courage and hope.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Hugo, and I'm looking forward to working with you on this series.
Thank you so much.
Now, I would like to introduce you to our last series for today, Doute, raisonnable, a new 10-hour police investigation series produced by Aetios and inspired in part by the Me Too movement. The series deals with a very important and timely issue, which is sexual assaults. The series features a fantastic cast with Julie Perron in the lead role and with Marc-André Grondin, who is known for his breakout role in the Jean-Marc Vallée Crazy and many other international projects. Now, let's take a look at a few images.
La victime, Gabrielle Cormier, 18 ans, allègue un viol collectif.
Un viol collectif?
Comme c'est impossible de corroborer les faits, on serait mieux de classer l'affaire.
C'est pas agressé de seul, le kid?
Hey, on a été créés pour résoudre des cas difficiles, là. On va se donner une dernière chance.
Tout ce que vous allez dire peut être retenu contre vous. Est-ce que vous comprenez ce que je viens de vous dire?
Qu'est-ce que vous faisiez le soir du 3 juin dernier, M. Larose?
Vous pensez vraiment que j'ai envie de coucher avec une autre femme? Prostituée en plus. Faites-en pas pour l'entreprise. Tout est sous contrôle.
C'est potentiellement 1000 fois pire que les accusations de la petite pute la dernière fois.
Pour te faire plaisir, y a rien que je dirais pas.
Vous savez pas être des femmes, vous êtes comme les autres polices, vous protégez juste les gros pleins de cash.
En plus de penser que je pourrais violer des femmes, vous pensez que j'ai pas de cœur?
Pour moi, ça va un peu ensemble.
T'es très mal placé pour me faire des menaces. Je sais pas à quoi tu ressembles, je le sais plus. Tout ce que je sais, c'est... Faut que ça arrête.
Welcome, Sébastien Pigeon.
Thank you, Mia.
So, Sébastien, you are the executive producer and the general manager at Aetios, and I wanted to congratulate you on this new opus you're bringing to us today.
Thank you. It's really a show that we've been waiting to release. I mean, this show was postponed because of the pandemic last year, and we just are really anxious to be able to get it out to the public.
And I almost feel like congratulating you in advance, as I know it's going to be a real success.
Thank you.
So thank you. Alrighty, so let's start and jump right into it. Maybe you can tell us just a little bit more about the storyline and what is the arc between episode 1 and 10. Tell us just a little bit more.
So the show follows a lead detective, Alice, who is back into a new unit formed especially to tackle sexual crimes. And Alice will come to wrestle with a case that is kind of ripped from the headline. You have this rich, philanthropic guy who is accused of rape by a young prostitute. So you have a victim that is the ideal victim in the sense that she has not a lot of means, and Alice would take it upon herself to defend her and bring her case in front of justice. Throughout the show, we'll also see everyone get to know each other because it's a new group of policemen working together, a new group of detectives, and they have to wrestle with the other detectives who think that other kind of crimes are more important. So they still have to prove themselves in front of the homicide squad and the drug squads who kind of have more resources of them.
So it's about the chemistry in the story, and then what about the chemistry on the set? How was it, like the relationship between the actors? How did that go?
You know, I was on set one of the first few days of the shoot, and one of the things that struck me the most is that how Julie and Marc-André were able to bond together so quickly. You know, we really saw that there were sparks flying between them, that they had just the right looks, the right intonations when they were addressing each other, and they quickly form a great team that I'm sure everyone will want to watch.
So tell me a little bit more about the approach from the police to the victims and to the aggressor, because it's really at the center, I feel, of this series. This approach needs to be a little different and distinctive.
Yep, so the Doute, raisonnable, the title of the show, translates in English into a reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt is a standard of proof if you want to convict someone of a crime. And this is at the core of the whole problem with sexual crimes. You're basically almost in a situation where it's a he said, she said situation. And so we definitely have an approach different in the show where the policeman, especially Alice, will take almost every time the side of the victim, and the other part of the detective squad will bring a little bit more balance to this. So it's kind of, we follow kind of the life mission of Alice to help these victims.
And then finally, I'd like to ask you about what are your ambitions in terms of international distribution?
So we feel that with the Me Too movement, as you've said, and everything that's going on in the world right now, this subject really touches on something that is clearly universal. So whether it's in a format or in a ready-made situation, I think this show will travel internationally very well.
And I agree with you. So thank you very much, Sébastien Pigeon, for being with us today. It was a real pleasure.
Same here.
So back to you, François-Pierre. I guess this wraps up our slate of new releases for today. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Mia, for this exciting showcase. And now let's talk to Christine Maestracci. Christine, you are Vice President, Acquisition and International Distribution for Quebecor Content, part of the most powerful media private group in Quebec. Christine, let's have a look at your newest portfolio.
Well, thank you so much, François-Pierre. Merci beaucoup. Thanks to Série Mania and, of course, to la SODEC for having us again this year in our great partnership. Quebecor Content is extremely proud to be able to present to you 3 exceptional series. We'll be talking about Chaos, Audrey's Back, and Last Summers of the Raspberries. But first, we will take a look at the great content that Quebecor Content has been able to showcase during the past few years. These are exceptional local hits that have resonated and traveled all over. We bring you a very moving dramedy, Audrey's Back. This is a 10-episode per 22 minutes, produced by Pixcom in collaboration with Quebecor Content. It is written by the award-winning darling of Série Mania, Florence Lompré, who has written Can You Hear Me? And Guillaume Lambert, also award-winning for the adult age. It is the story of Audrey, 33 years old, who wakes up after being 16 years in a coma. The series, of course, will follow her through her physical rehabilitation as she needs to relearn how to eat, talk, and walk. But she will also be facing several challenges as everything around her has significantly changed. Her family no longer is together, her brother is estranged, her dog passed away, and of course her friends seem to have moved on. Even her music references have significantly changed. Audrey's awakening will also be the awakening of all the characters around her and that of her family on their own quest for happiness. The series is full of tenderness, laughter, and a little bit of tears. It feels very real, authentic, and relatable. It will be showcased on our SVOD platform Club Illico in the fall of 2021. Let's have a quick look at the trailer.
Quoi? Qu'est-ce qu'il y a? La patiente? Pour regarder. Ça doit faire genre 15 ans qu'elle est là.
Oh mon Dieu!
C'est incroyable ce qui arrive à Audrey. C'est sans précédent ou presque. C'est un choc pour tout le monde. Je le savais qu'elle reviendrait.
Sarah, débarque de là, c'est pas un jouet, ça!
Oui, c'est ça, exact!
Est-ce que tu te rappelles de l'accident?
Tu te souviens de rien de ce que je te raconte?
Non. Parce que votre partie est finie depuis 2 heures. Puis faites attention de ne pas scratcher le plancher avec sa chaise roulante.
I'm so happy to welcome Nicola Merola, who's the executive producer on the great series Audrey's Back. Nicola, we've just seen an amazing trailer.
You liked it, eh?
Very much so. Talk to me about the unique tone that we can, that we got a glimpse from the trailer.
Yes. So this series is written by Florence Lompré and Guillaume Lambert. I call them the queen and king of dramedy in Quebec.
Rightfully so.
Their shows are exactly about that. So taking very dramatic moment in life, but presenting them to the viewers with humor. There's always humor at the corner. So the tone is raw, in a kind way, not in a gross way. It is honest. It is in your face. It's all about celebrating life and the meaningful moments in life, but through comedy.
Which feels very authentic at the same time and extremely relatable. Let's talk a little bit about the storyline and how the different timelines sort of are carefully weaved into the story.
Yes, so the show takes place today, after the awakening from the coma of Audrey. And it also takes place before the accident, when she's a teenager, going to high school with the usual douchebags, with her friend Cynthia also. So the way that it works is that Audrey remembers her past before the accident, piece by piece. And every time she remembers something, we go back into that past. And it is in those moments before the accident that we truly realize or understand the personality of Audrey.
So her spirit and who she is. She uncovers this also, I imagine.
Yes, so she will also, through memory, discover who she is, because she kind of forgot that, So those two time period are as important in the series.
All right. Do we get to see what she feels in the coma?
Yes, so that's a good question. There's almost a third time frame where she kind of remember in a dreamy way what were those 17 years that she spent in a coma. She built some sort of
imaginary world.
Yes. But I won't say more. There's a few surprises that the writers kept for the viewers.
Right. One last word. You said to me right before we taped this that when you watch the dailies, you feel these are friends that you're relating to.
Yes. which is something quite unique that happens here and there only in television. So when you start watching episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, you stay not only because you want to know what's going to happen with Audrey, but you stay because you feel that those people, you need to spend time with them. You get attached to them, but in a very strong way, stronger than, I have to say, any other series that I've seen.
Great. Well, we can't wait to see it. As you know, it will air on Club Illico, our SVOD platform, in fall of 2021. Thank you, Nicola.
Thank you, Christine.
Quebecor Content is very proud to present to you Last Summers of the Raspberries. This is a comedy drama of 10 episodes of 1 hour, produced by Trio Orange in collaboration with Quebecor Content. It's an epic love story of improbable encounters in a very much rural setting where generations and values will certainly collide. It is very well written by Florence Lompré and Suzie Bouchard and directed by Philippe Falardeau, an award-winning filmmaker, and this will be his first series. The story is about Elizabeth, who inherits the family farm after the passing of her late husband. Although she's very much a novice at farming, she will take on the operations and learn to navigate through her mourning. She will learn to fend off her very intrusive in-laws, and she will bond with the migrant workers and their leader, Francisco. This is a series that is shot in 3 different languages, well, actually 4 languages: French, English, Spanish, and the sign languages. Production is underway, and it will air in fall 2021 on Club Illico, our SVOD platform. It's a fresh, modern, and unique proposition with very strong creative talents attached to the project. It's an invitation to go beyond first impressions and to share the reality of others. Let's take a look at one scene that we were able to get a sneak peek of.
Parlez dans le micro, s'il vous plaît.
Ah, comme la neige a neigé, ma vitre est un jardin de... Bon, ça fonctionne pas, là.
C'est pas grave parce qu'on vous entend très bien. Alors poursuivez, l'assemblée est ouverte.
Je l'ai eu. Il était pas branché.
C'est super, Océane. OK, on vous écoute.
Le bonheur est loin d'être dans le pré. C'est le titre de mon adresse d'aujourd'hui. C'est une référence à l'émission très racoleuse et pour le moins mensongère que tout le monde connaît.
Oui, on a reconnu le clin d'œil.
Moi, je l'aime beaucoup, cette émission.
Bon, poursuivez, M. Bertoli, s'il vous plaît.
Jeudi dernier, donc, je me rendis pour une énième fois vers les bureaux de la PAC afin de demander une étude sérieuse sur la condition de l'agriculteur-producteur au Québec. Quelle ne fut pas ma surprise d'apprendre que ces études...
Bougez pas.
Oui, ben bon, c'est ça, on veut me museler, c'est ça?
Non, monsieur
J'ai le droit à l'agora, madame.
Oui, mais on vous entend très bien parce que c'est une petite salle. Alors continuez, s'il vous plaît.
Le fil est lousse. C'est bon, je le tiens.
C'est parce qu'on n'a pas besoin de micro, là, Océane. Ah! Continuez, M. Bertoli, s'il vous plaît.
Donc, quelle ne fut pas ma surprise d'apprendre par la bouche de la jeune adjointe aux cheveux bleus, très provocateur, mais néanmoins fort sympathique, que les études en question existent déjà.
Eh bien voilà, vous l'avez... Monsieur Caron, est-ce qu'on peut vous aider?
C'est pas le bingo?
Le bingo est en bas dans la chapelle exceptionnellement aujourd'hui à cause de l'Assemblée.
Ah, il n'y a pas de bingo.
Oui, il y a un bingo, mais il est en bas dans la chapelle.
Ah, dans la chapelle en bas. Vous êtes pas chez vous?
Mais non, je suis ici.
Il y avait une ambulance tantôt devant chez vous.
Hein?
Hein?
Mais comment c'est une ambulance, quand ça?
Ben, tantôt, quand je suis passé, il y avait une ambulance.
Excusez-moi. Excusez-moi.
I am here with Suzie Bouchard, who's co-author of Last Summers of the Raspberries. Suzie, thank you for being here. We've just seen an excerpt of a scene that takes place at the town hall.
Yeah.
Can you give me an idea a little bit? We're calling this a comedy drama.
Yeah, a comedy drama, because there's comedy, but the premise of the series, there's something very dramatic that happens at the beginning, and it was important for Florence and I to sort of merge those tones throughout the series and have funny moments, funny situations, but there's still place and room for the drama, just like in real life. Like we don't really compartment sad and funny in real life, so we wanted to recreate that in the series and have both merge through the story.
Let's talk about a little bit about the themes that we have throughout the series.
I think there are many themes, but if I had to pick one, I would say exile is probably the main theme. The main exile being the very tangible exile that the migrant workers go through when they come on the farm. And we really wanted to explore that and how they live it, but also what it means for them, you know, how unfair and absurd it must feel sometimes to them, and the meaning that they give to the sacrifices that they make. But there are also a lot of sub-exiles in the other characters' plots.
Well, the fact that Elizabeth is a widow.
Exactly.
The fact that one of her sons is mute and deaf.
Exactly. So it's also it's that big exile, but it's also the tiny exiles that we put ourselves through, whether because we're grieving someone like Elizabeth, or because you know, we've accumulated tensions. I'm thinking of the in-laws of Elizabeth's in-laws too, who also have their solitude that they retreat to sometimes, and we wanted to explore the things that make us come out of these exiles to really meet the other person and come out of the solitude.
All right. How do you approach talking about the migrant workers? How do you approach that universal theme?
And it is a universal theme. In our series, it's set in Quebec, so the migrant workers are from mainly Mexico, but it's a widespread,
all over the world,
it's a widespread reality. So we approached it with a lot of excitement because we were interested in this theme that Philip brought on, but also with a lot of humility because it's not a reality that we knew firsthand. So we did some research to sort of figure out how they experienced it and to have a lot of experiences reflected. They don't all go through it the same way. If it's Francisco, who's been coming to the farm for a long time, or if it's Gustavo, who's on his first summer at the farm, it's not necessarily the same experience. So we wanted to reflect that multifaceted reality, yeah.
It's also an epic love story between Elizabeth and Francisco.
The epic being very important. It's an epic love story, and Florence and I really wanted to present this romance between, an improbable romance really, between the two characters. And it's about love really burning despite a lot of obstacles, the obstacles of language, of even class and different realities, and Elizabeth's grief. But the love that thrives no matter what. So we really wanted that to be the center of this complicated or complex story that we imagined.
Well, thank you so much for coming today to speak to us about Last Summer of the Raspberries. It will be showcased on Club Illico in the fall of 2021.
Right. Thank you.
We proudly present to you Chaos. It's an event series of 10 episodes per 1 hour, produced by Amalga and Keep It Simple in collaboration with Quebecor Content. This psychological thriller is driven by a very complex investigation, and it's a story where you will find humanity, mutual aid, and a lot of love. It is the story of 10 young adults whose life will be forever changed when tragedy hits at the concert of their favorite star singer, Invo. Some characters will survive, others will be injured, and the trajectory of all of our characters will be changed forever. Chaos is a choral series, a crossover of different points of views and testimony of this tragic event. And viewers will be gradually brought into the lives of the different characters, discovering their shadows, their lights, and of course their wounds and how they're going to heal, and of course certain secrets. So the personal stories of the characters will resonate as questions of who, what, where, when, how, and especially why will unfold throughout the police investigation underway. This is a very powerful story. It is currently in production. It will air on TVA, the #1 conventional channel in French Canada, in fall 2021. Here's a quick look at the few images that we've got for you.
C'est malade! C'est tellement trop big! C'est le plus beau jour de ma vie! Il est tellement parfait, le beau! C'est trop ça, la vie! Check son amour!
Le monde est chill. Tout ce que je veux peut sembler inutile, futile et artificiel. Et si le monde s'écroule et s'effondre, je n'en suis pas responsable. Je n'en suis pas responsable. Parce que le monde est chill.
Tu rentres pas là.
Ma fille est là-dedans.
Juste avant.
Lâche-moi, je
Je t'ai dit, Madeleine, s'il te plaît.
Je peux se trouver une
Je t'ai dit que je m'en occupe, OK? Éloigne le monde, c'est un ordre.
Je sais ça.
What a strong series. I'm here with Pascale Bussières, who has the role of Madeleine in that series. So Madeleine is a mother, but also a police officer in the series. Can you tell us a bit more about your character?
Yes, Madeleine is the mother of Eugénie, who happens to be at the concert that night where the explosions happened. And as a police officer, Madeleine is called to the scene at the very epicenter of the tragedy. So she will have to be very brave and determined and loving to help her daughter to overcome the survivor's guilt, and she's going to have to fight with her own feelings of inadequacy in this situation.
So can you tell us a little bit more about the storyline and how it unfolds throughout the series?
So Chaos is the story of 10 ecstatic teenagers with VIP passes to attend a concert of their idol, Invo. So it's a one-of-a-lifetime event who they have been looking forward to for many months. But the party is cut short, disturbed by a very vicious attack. So the tragedy cost some of them their lives and will leave others injured. And from that moment, everyone's life's going to be changed forever.
So if we talk a little bit about the storyline and how it, you know, the plot unfolds throughout the series, how is the story crafted and built into the different timelines?
So it's a psychological thriller, which is driven by a police investigations, and it's constructed in 3 timelines. So we have the before, during, and after the tragic events.
For each character that is involved?
Okay. Yeah, so, you know, how were these teenagers before the events, and how did they react during the explosions that night, and how are they going to heal from that afterwards?
So the tragic events impact young adults mostly?
So the series dives into the lives of young adults and their families, but the target is really a co-viewing series.
Let's talk a little bit about the music.
Yeah,
that takes a big part in the series.
Beautiful music, beautiful musicians, a great singer. The actor who plays Invo is an amazing singer. And so the music is going to take a central place in the story. It's actually like, it acts like as a character in the narrative. And in fact, it's going to be a very interesting tool for the promotional. It's going to be a promotional tool
for the series.
For the series, for the launch of the series in September.
Yeah, we can hear already certain music that are becoming hits
already
on
air
a few months before it airs.
Prepare the area for September, for the launch in September.
Well, that series will air very shortly on TVA, which is the #1 conventional network in French Canada. And we look forward to seeing you in it very shortly. Thank you, Pascale.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Mia. And thank you, SODEC, for this exclusive presentation of Quebec's newest fiction. And stay tuned for more series, more formats in the very near future. In the meantime, see you very soon.